My best friend outed me to my crush in the whole school. Part 3. Finale. When I say my mother snapped, I mean she really snapped. It took me being beaten to a pulp for her to snap. I always wondered why she never left. This was not the first time this had happened. She would later tell me that when I had come into the room, she had seen a faint glow around me. She had been happy because for the first time ever, her son looked happy. Then my father came and crashed through all of that with his knuckles, and I was left bleeding to the bone. My mother did not snap in the way one expected her to. She did not suddenly attack my father and make him pay for all he had done. She did not set the house on fire with him in it. She got up, wiped her tears, and she held me. She washed my wounds, bandaged me up, and took care of me. She stayed by my side all week, never saying a word, just fed me and made sure that I recovered. And that man who was my father never once came to my room. I guess I was too much of a sight for him to fathom even being in the same room as me. He hated anything that would inconvenience him. At the end of a week and a few days, she woke me up in the middle of the night. I was jolted away by her shakes and her whispers. She told me to hurry up and get dressed, to pack what I needed and come with her. I was in a daze, but I did as she told me. I packed a few clothes and toiletries into my rucksack and I went back into my room. She told me to be quiet when she opened my door and started to tiptoe. Then she led me out of the house, and she locked the door behind us, to buy us some time, I figured. Where are we going? I asked her. Somewhere we should have gone a long time ago, she said. A black car was parked directly across from our house, and we were headed there. Mom opened the back door for me and sat in the front. I could not see much, but I saw a lady was driving the car. She had a cloudy puff of blonde hair, dark eyes, and wore expensive-looking clothes. Her watchful eyes were fixed on me from the moment that I had entered the car. Something about her was familiar, like an old song whose name I could not remember. She drove for several minutes while I was quiet. I wanted to ask where we were going, but the lady did not seem like someone who would answer any questions that she did not want to, so I did not say anything to her. She pulled up in a driveway of a big house. A butler came to the car and took my mom and I's bags when we got out of the car. We all walked inside the house. I could spend the whole day raving about how majestic it was, but that is irrelevant and would only waste time. We sat down in the living room and were silent for a while. I wondered which one of them was going to break the silence and explain to me what was going on. Son, this is your grandmother. My mother said. Thought you said that you didn't have parents, I said. Yes, when I married your father, my parents were against our union, and we fell out. I only started speaking to my mother a few weeks ago, when she reached out to inform me of my father's passing. We have been mending our relationship. I kept the abuse from her, but the day that your father beat you to a pulp, I could not stay with that man any longer, she said, starting to sob. My grandmother patted her back in comfort. So then I told her that she could move back home with you. I cannot stand by and let you suffer, my grandma said. My father? You know he'll come for us with everything that he's got, I said. I knew that man. He would not take us leaving lying down. He would hunt us down and, do not worry about him. I'm going to divorce him tomorrow and I'm going to sign the papers for a restraining order. It's over, my son, my mother said, sitting up straighter. We'll talk more about this later. I guess I'll get some sleep now, my grandfather said. I agree, I said. So then the butler led me and my mother to 2 separate rooms. Mine was decorated with things that I liked. I figured that my grandma had been preparing for our arrival for a while. I got undressed and got right into my bed. It felt like heaven compared to my bed back home. Except that place was not home anymore. It was like my former prison. I slept like a baby that night and had some of the sweetest dreams that I had ever had. The next morning I woke up to a lot of texts from Eli, and surprisingly, one from Tim. I opened Eli's text and it was just text asking if I was okay. He had heard that my mother and I had gone missing. Tim's one said, I hope that you are safe. I smiled a bit at his concern. He was so sweet. I got out of bed and freshened up. Then I went downstairs for breakfast with my mother and Granny. She was actually fun to be around, very witty as well. I was sure that we were going to get along really well. I shot off a text to Eli to tell him that I was okay and to also ask him to meet me at a coffee shop so that I would explain what had happened. At 1, my grandmother's driver dropped me off at the coffee shop. I spotted Eli at the back and he waved me over. I greeted him once I got over to him, and we ordered some coffee. I did not waste time. I told him everything that had happened to me, from the beginning, from my father's abuse to us fleeing in the middle of the night. Bro, I cannot imagine how it must have been like for you. At least you're out of his clutches now. Are you still going to be attending our school? He asked. Whoa, hold your horses, I laughed. We have not gotten to that yet. I promise that you will be the first person that I tell as soon as I know, okay? Okay, good. Tim was asking about you, he said. I tried to keep a straight face and remain unbothered. Oh, really? I said nonchalantly. Cut the crap, I know that you two kissed. Oh, and do not look so shocked. I confronted my brother after seeing walking out of your room the previous night. I also noticed how you two were trying your best not to look at each other in the morning, he said. Darn it. I'd forgotten how observant my best friend was sometimes. At the wrong times, that. It was a wonder that I'd managed to keep my secret of my crush on Tim from him. Right, I blushed. I do not know what is going on between you two, but please be gentle with him. This is all new to him, he said. Of course, I will talk to him so that we can figure it out together if he's willing, I said. Well then, shoot him a text. He was worried about you when we heard that you were missing, Eli said. So I did exactly that. Me, Heya, I'm fine. Can we talk later? Tim, sure dude. Wanna join me for my evening stroll? Me, sure. Eli and I remained at the coffee shop for a while, enjoying some delicacies. Then I went home so that I could prepare for my meeting with Tim. I cannot deny, I was nervous. I'd been dreaming of him for a long time. He had come confined to my imagination. The thought of having even a slight chance with him shook me. I tried not to think too much about it. Would jinx it. You look nice. Going for a date with a nice boy? My grandma asked. I had told her that I was gay in the morning. She was cool with it, which I had not expected, but appreciated nonetheless. Not a date, Grandma, just meeting a friend. I laughed. She gave me a knowing look and nodded. I smiled and made my way out. I had to get used to the idea of having a driver sometime soon. It felt strange to have transport to go wherever I wanted. My father had a car, but I had never driven it before. It was his most prized possession, after all. We had decided that we were going to meet at this shop that was near his place. I saw him immediately, wearing an all-white outfit that stood out against his dark hair. I got off and made my way over to him. When he fixed those amber's eyes on me, I became weak. Why did he have to have such an effect on me? It was not fair. He smiled when he saw me and brought me in for a hug. Gosh, he smelled so good. Hey, I said. Hey you, he smiled. Then we stared at each other without saying anything. We laughed after a moment. We should probably go. I know a spot where we can sit, he said. Okay, no problem, I said. So then we walked in silence for a while. We continued down a path filled with a couple of trees and bushes. Occasionally I caught glimpses of the sun. How I loved the sunset. It had been a while since I had last felt so relaxed in my life. I felt content as if nothing could disrupt this peace. There, he pointed to a bench that was in a clearing. I followed him and we sat down beside each other. So, took me to your secret spot already? I smirked. Oh, I take everyone here, he said, looking at me with a mocking look in his eyes. Right, I should have known, I laughed. But none confuse me as much as you, he said. Me? How do I confuse you? I asked. You really asking? Yeah, I'm asking. You come with your beautiful words, make me unravel as I have never done before. Make me open up to you like I've never done with anyone else before. Does that answer your question? He raised an eyebrow. Right, as if you're innocent in the matter. You tell me that you're not interested in me. Then a few hours later, you're kissing me, I retorted. I know I said that. That is what I wanted to believe. I was being the Tim that everyone expected me to be. I've always found you intriguing, but I tried my best to stay away from you. He looked down. Why? I asked. I was afraid that you would see me, and part of me wanted you to see me, but I was scared of the storm that would come, he said. And not dance in the storm, I asked. And get carried away, he said, looking into my eyes. And get carried away from this place. I smiled. We looked at each other for a few seconds. Then we leaned into each other, our lips connected. You know how there are fireworks when people kiss in movies? I did not get fireworks around me, but inside me. Now, that was a different story. His body fit perfectly with mine. I had no idea that I craved his touch until I felt it. He kissed me with everything that he had, and I did the same to him. We were lost in our own bubble for a while, our bodies tethered to each other. I wanted to stay in that bliss forever. It felt safe. When we parted, my body was still vibrating from his touch. In his eyes, so much was ever written for me to read. He was telling me, I want you, and I wanted him too. I had no idea I needed that. But I did, he said. As did I. What are we going to do next, though? I said. Already, I was thinking of 1,000 riggers that were on our way. It was easy to build castles in the air while the ground was burning, but sooner or later we had to come back to reality. Let us not think of that for now. Let us enjoy the day together, not spoil it, he said. Sounds like a plan. I'm so hungry though, I said. Well then, let's go and grab something to eat, he said, taking my hand. I noticed that his hand was not soft. It was calloused with a few ridges, and I liked holding it. We walked until we reached a little restaurant. Are you supposed to be drinking? It's football season, I said. Ooh, and how do you know that? Stalking me? He smirked. I went pale. No, I began. Just joking with you. It's general knowledge. I've been putting in some extra hours at practice. I'm sure that I'll be able to get away with one drink, he said. So then we enjoyed our food while talking about everything. I found out a lot about him that I did not know. Getting to know someone through facts you discover is different to that person telling you their life story. By the end of our meal, I knew him even better than I had that morning, and the same goes for him. We walked down a path leading to a place that I had yet to find out. It had gone dark and there was only a few pedestrians on the road. The moon and the stars had already come out. I like the moon, he said. Really? Why? I asked. It is 1,000 times smaller than the sun, yet it gives us light in the night. I just find it beautiful, that is all, he said. Make a lot of sense. Even when it's craters, it's beautiful, I said. I hope that you can accept my craters. Flaws make a person more human, I said, squeezing his hand. I don't want this night to end, he said. Me neither. I want the night to stretch on forever. I want the sun to never rise, I sighed. But the sun will rise, and we will have to face reality, he said. For now, we don't have to, I smiled. So we did not face reality for a while. We walked down the road, talking about nothing and everything as if we had all the time in the world, as if the sun, the great villain in our story, was not looming. We'll have to go home sooner or later, he said. I know, I sighed. We need to talk about what we're going to do, he said. I know this is not an ideal situation. I also have the issue of my parents' impending divorce, I said. And I'm not ready to come out yet, he said. I do not want to stop this, whatever we have. Me neither. I don't want this to end. What if we just take it slow, meet when we can, and figure the rest out later, he said. Sounds like a plan, I smiled. We went back to where we had parked his car, and he drove me home. We were silent for the rest of the journey. Not an awkward silence, no. It was a comfortable silence. Soon, he had parked at my gate. I turned to look at him. Damn, his eyes were beautiful. I wondered if he knew it. He probably had been told that a lot of times before. I kissed him on the lips, a light peck. If I went for something more passionate, I would be unable to let him go. That would do us no good. Goodbye. Catch you on later, I smiled. Good morning to you too, he said. I raised an eyebrow, but he gestured to the clock. It was 2:35. Time did really fly, but it was worth every hour. I laughed and closed the door behind me. Matthew, the butler, let me in. I made my way straight to my bedroom. Mom and Grandma had already gone to bed, so I guess I would see them when I woke up in the morning. I stripped to my boxers and climbed onto bed. As I was drifting off to sleep, my phone beeped. Tim, sweet dreams. I smiled and drifted off to sleep. I was at peace for now. I had no idea where Timothy and I were going. I had no idea how the situation with my dad was going to work out. My life was filled with a lot of unknowns, but I was certainly better than it had been in such a long time. I was optimistic for the first time in a long time. Maybe the sun would rise, and it would all unravel in an unexpected way. But I had my love to guide me through. It would be my torch in the darkness that I was going to face. Love, uncontrollable chaos. I have my faith in you. The end. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.